Hello and welcome back to another video from Jerba Campervans. Now today we've got a really special video. I managed to sit down with Simon, the founder of Jerba Campervans, and ask him a few questions and get him to really tell the story of Jerba Campervans and why he decided to start the business. You'll really enjoy this video, and I'll hand over to Simon now, who will tell you the story of Jerba Campervans.
Hi, my name's Simon Poole. I'm the founder of Jerba Campevans. We formed the business with myself and my partner Cath in 2006. And why are we interested in campervans? Well, we lived in Canada back in the mid-90s, in 1995, and we bought an old T2, ended up driving it all the way across from Vancouver to Montreal. We loved the experience, and that's what got us into campervans. We bought our first campervan in the UK in 2002. It was a conversion that was done by another campervan converter. It was great, we loved it. It was a T4, but there were just a number of things I didn't like about it. The way some of the furniture was laid out, little bits that you couldn't open your fridge when you put the bed down, you couldn't open certain cupboard doors. There wasn't the greatest use of space. So I looked and thought hard and decided, you know what, I could probably do a better job than had been done. So I started out and planned my own van and converted my own van. 2006, took the step and we hired a really small unit, a unit that was big enough just to get two vans in really. Myself and another local person who was a carpenter at that stage who was working for us, and we just formed the company. So got a website together, early days, very few people were really using the website to promote the business. So that was my main focus. We did in the early days again Google AdWords, something which people weren't doing, and it really helped us to get the business off the ground. So in 2014, we bought a whole piece of land that we're sat on here now, and we built a building you can see behind me. So that was a big move for us. We were previous to that in a rented place. We'd gone from a small tiny workshop to a middle-sized one, and then we decided that it was time that we actually invested in the building of the property. So we put some money on the table and we built the building we're in now. Fantastic facility, brand new, clean, and done to the sort of ideal layout that works with us. It's a warm environment, and we've got PV panels, solar panels on the roof. It's really well insulated, so it's a great place in which to work. We did a lot of work with Scottish Enterprise when we moved in here. They're the government body which helps and supports businesses, and they've got a particular part which is called the Manufacturing Advisory Service. So they helped us in laying out of the workshop what's the best place to have particular parts of the process. So we are. In management speak, we're very lean in the way we actually do our manufacturing. We've sat down very carefully and we've planned step by step. Where's the best place to have this particular part of the process, and where's the best place to have the next part? How do we break those processes up? And there's a lot of work done on a continual basis here with all the guys, and it's important that it really comes from the people who work here. It's to say, how can we improve things? How can we make changes that make it even better so we can ensure that the product we produce at the end of the day is exactly as we want it and as our customers want it as well. In 2012, there was a change in regulation. So if you were manufacturing a brand new camper van or a motor caravan, as the government would call it, then you had to have a thing called type approval. You could no longer just manufacture, tell the DVLA it's a motor caravan, and they would register as so. You had to have a form of certification. So you could either go to a local testing station, a government testing station, and have what's called an IVA done, or you could take the next more serious step, invest your money and actually get type approval. And that means you have your layout and everything you've done that's changed the safety aspects of the original base vehicle assessed and certificated to make sure it's safe for driving on the road. So we went through a whole process. It's quite expensive, it's quite lengthy. There's videos on our website showing all the vehicles being tested, particularly seats is the important part that have seat belts on in the rear of the van. And we gained what's called, type approval. So that's certification to ensure that every vehicle we then produce is produced to exactly the same specification with the same products, the same manufacturing, to show it's absolutely safe for driving on the roads. Another part of type approval is many people have heard of a certification called ISO 9001, and that's all about quality systems. And that's not just about how you manufacture, but it's how you actually look after all your paperwork and all your processes within the business. And that can be anything from how you interact with your customers, to how you interact with your suppliers, to how you track parts through the business. So we have an assessment which is done every year, which ensures that we're continually monitoring what we do and making sure that the quality levels that we're doing it to don't drop. In 2014, we became a registered converter. It's a registered bodybuilder is the official term for Volkswagen commercial vehicles. And there's only a small number of UK motor caravan, campervan companies that hold that registration process with them. And you have to have a number of things. You now have to have the type approval. You have to have your ISO 9001 certification. So Volkswagen are ensuring that everybody who is working with them as a registered bodybuilder, registered converter, is really working to a very high and the same level of standards. It means we have a very close working relationship with Volkswagen directly. So we're not just dealing with the local van centre, we're dealing with the head office, which is based down in Milton Keynes for the commercial vehicles. So we have advance notice on things that are coming up. We have to sign non-disclosure agreements, but we attend meetings and conferences and gatherings of Volkswagen staff and other companies from the outside to hear new stuff that's on the horizon. We can't always tell people about it, but it means we're one step ahead of many other converters in the UK that don't have that special access. And it does also allow us to look at different products as well and to see what's coming up, what can we do, what can we change. So it's a prestigious situation to have, and it's something we hold very precious to the company. And I think it does make us stand out from many of our competitors. So we have our own elevating roof, our own pop top, as people might know it. We used to fit a couple of quite well-known German brands, which when we started out was the best choice to do because we didn't have any other options. Since 2006, many other roof manufacturers have just appeared on the market and developed their own products. But we stayed with the German manufacturers who, at that time, I felt, and I was right in saying this, that were the best products on the market. Over a number of years, we had a few supply problems, we had a few quality issues, and I just felt their products weren't evolving and weren't developing. So we had our own ideas of things we could do better. So we started work in probably 2013 on our own elevating roof. And it took a couple of years of hard work in producing a product, tweaking it, changing it, until we actually decided we were at a point where we would have happily fit it to a customer's van. And at the same time, we were granted a patent, and a patent for the way the canvas can be removed. So unique to ourselves, and no other elevating roof has this as an adaptation, is that all our canvases can be removed entirely by you at home in a matter of minutes. There's a zip which holds the lower section to the upper section, and it's a very simple process to literally undo the zip and then slide off the canvas from a rail above. It's totally watertight, and we use a very, very particular type of cotton material. It's called Ventile. It breathes, doesn't let the water through, doesn't give you condensation. So it's a very high spec material as well. We only fit it ourselves. We don't sell it to anybody else. We don't give it to people as a DIY product. So it's exclusive to us. I think it's a great product. I guess I would, because I was the person who was behind developing it. But it is, again, something that makes us stand out as being just a little bit different and slightly unique. Probably in about 2016, myself and my partner Cath, who were at that stage the sole owners of the business, we formed the business, we split the shares 50-50 right at the start. We started to think about what we really wanted for the future of Jerba Campervans, and I think it's a big question which many business owners don't necessarily ask themselves at an early enough stage. The business had grown quite rapidly. We'd invested a lot of money back into it, and we wanted to decide where we really wanted it to go into the future. we saw a number of businesses within the motorhome market being taken over by in some cases, some European companies, and we just didn't feel like it was the way we wanted the company to go. We had a strong cohort of employees who'd been there almost since day one, or when they joined had not left. We have a really, really good record of employees joining us and staying, and we couldn't have got the business to where it is without them, and they couldn't have got the business to where it is without us. So we felt we owed them just as much as they owed to us. It was a real a balance between us both. So we looked at the options for how we could develop the business, and the one that stood out a mile for us was the model of employee ownership. So that involved ourselves, myself and Cath, forming a trust, transferring all our shares into the trust, for which the trust then over a period of years pays us back. And the valuation of the business is such that it's probably about 60% of the value, perhaps 70%, somewhere around that figure, of the value of the business if you had sold it privately. But what you do ensure is that the business is then, as it's owned by the trust, it makes it very, very difficult for it to be ever taken over by another company in the future, and it preserves the jobs of the employees. We now have a very inclusive situation here where employees are part of a whole not decision-making process, but are part of the decisions that are made. So we include everybody in innovative work groups, in looking at the working environment of the building and how we affect the local community. And everyone's really involved in that. And by having employees involved, the dedication and then passion of the employees really comes out in the final product, and it comes out in the business overall. So I felt we've now got ourselves into a great position where we have a very strong and stable workforce that are 100% behind the business and are going to really make it secure for themselves, but also for customers into the future. I think the last thing customers want is to buy a vehicle, for a camper van from a business, only to find in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time that they've been consumed by a much larger company. And we're here for the long term, and if you buy your vehicle from us now, the model we now have, I'm 99% sure you'll still see us 5, 10, 15 years down the road providing the same very personal individual service. What's next for Jerba Campervans? I've talked about employee ownership. I think that's a very strong part of what we stand for. I'd like to see us as an organisation furthering that on a local and a national basis to encourage other companies to follow suit. I'd like to, from a business point of view or from a company point of view, to do more with the community. I think it's really important that a business, if they're a successful business in a community, they help the local community in other ways as well. So I think that's important. As far as the products go, that's a little bit of an unknown. We all know, everybody does, that at some stage all vehicles will become, at the moment, it's going to be electric. Hydrogen might suddenly appear on the horizon, but electric's the focus. So we have to be looking at the opportunities that are going to come from that, but as well as the obstacles. There will be a time when we move, or the market moves from diesel to electric. What's going to happen in the small gap that falls in between, where people are probably hesitating about then investing in diesel when electric's around the corner? So these are challenges we all have to face across the industry. We may diversify slightly. We may continue to concentrate on the transporter van, but in the short term, as in the next 2, 3, 4 years, the transporter van is exactly what we're concentrating on. Outside of that, it really depends on technology and what products appear and what other opportunities present themselves to us as time ticks by.